So we have seen a lot of theorists coming into English literature and experimenting with the works already published in English literature. For instance, we have Sigmund Freud, who was a psychologist and who did some analysis of Oedipus Rex. He was someone who analyzed Oedipus Rex and then came out with the theory of Oedipus complex. According to Sigmund Freud, our whole life is dependent on our sexual drives. So behind every decision of a man, there is some kind of force. And according to Sigmund Freud, it is the sexual drive. So he was a psychologist who brought psychology into English literature, and that's why we have psychoanalytical criticism in English literature. And it was not only Sigmund Freud who brought another discipline into English literature. We have other theorists also. For instance, Émile Zola. He was much more influenced by Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection. And from Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection, he brought naturalism into English literature. All his characters, plots or stories revolve around with the theme of survival of the fittest. So where we have Sigmund Freud, who says that man's life is centered around his sexual drives. There is another person, Émile Zola, who said that everything depends on survival of the fittest. And then here we have another theory, feminism, who thinks that it is the patriarchal society which shapes the culture, which shapes the modern society. So one by one, new critics, new theorists came from another subject into English literature, and they brought another discipline into English literature. And in the similar way, we have theorists from Sociology department who brought some sociological theories into English literature. So the name of those two theories is New Historicism and Cultural Studies. So just like we have eco-criticism, where environmental aspects came into English literature, we have Cultural Studies and New Historicism, which focuses on sociology, which foregrounds sociology in the works of English literature. It is not like English literature has not talked about culture in English literature. For instance, T.S. Eliot, F.R. Lewis, or you can say Matthew Arnold, all these critics have already talked about culture in their respective works. For instance, Matthew Arnold has talked about high culture, low culture, popular culture in his work Cultural and Anarchy. But in cultural studies, we go one step ahead of cultural critics. Matthew Arnold, F.R. Lewis, T.S. Eliot were cultural critics. But now in cultural studies, we go one step ahead and figure out what are the important aspects that influence a culture. Just like we have Sigmund Freud, who inaugurated psychoanalytical criticism, we have Jacques Derrida, who inaugurated deconstruction, and then you can say Mary Wollstonecraft, who inaugurated feminism. In the same way, we have Raymond Williams, who inaugurated cultural studies in 1964. So New Historicism and Cultural Studies, both are these subjects, both are the literary theories which focuses or which foregrounds sociology into English literature. Particularly, Cultural Studies focuses on the theory of cultural materialism, and whereas New Historicism focuses on the works which was published during the Renaissance. So remember these two themes of these two topics. Cultural studies is related to cultural materialism, whereas New Historicism focuses on the works which was published, which came around during the period of Renaissance. That is why we have the works of Stephen Greenblatt, or you can say Goldberg, who were much more interested in analyzing the works of Shakespeare, who was also a Renaissance writer. Okay, so New Historicism was much more focused on Renaissance writers, Renaissance playwrights, and they were much more focused on these Renaissance writers. Alright, and whereas Cultural Studies have some association with Marxism because Raymond Williams was a Marxist, so it is quite natural, it is quite normal that Cultural Studies may have some link with Marxism also. Alright, so these two topics, New Historicism or Cultural Studies, require a little more attention from your side. And so in this video, we are only going to discuss Cultural Studies. And another topic, New Historicism, I am going to cover in the upcoming videos. So if you have not subscribed to this channel, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more updates on English literature. So as you are going through this video, I want you to be a little patient to understand what I am telling in this video, because literary theory is not like reading a novel. Every sentence in literary theory makes sense. Every word, every paragraph, every sentence have a lot of meaning in it. So literary theory requires close reading from a reader or a student. And in this video we will talk about some elements that will give you some overall understanding of what cultural studies is all about. Okay, so before beginning this video, if you are one of those students who want to crack UGC-NET examination, GATE examination, or any other competitive examination in English literature, then you can place your order of our study material from our official website limitlessliterature.com. You can check the link in the description below to know more about our study material. Now without any further delay, let's begin this video. Raymond Williams was a Marxist, so it was obvious that this cultural studies have some elements of economy, capitalism also. In fact, Karl Marx was one of the first persons who argued that it is the capitalism, it is the economy which is the dominant force in the formation of any culture. And then we have Antonio Gramsci, who explained his term of hegemony in context to culture. So earlier also we have Karl Marx, Antonio Gramsci, Louis Althusser, who were trying to explain the culture with respect to economy, with respect to capitalism. But in cultural studies, we are not only going to focus on economical aspects, but also two other aspects also included in this cultural studies, and that is social and political. So in Marxism we take only economical aspects, but in cultural studies we take economical, social and political, all these three aspects in consideration. Another thing I want to mention here is that in cultural studies we don't go on making some writers great. We don't say that Shakespeare was a great writer and let's compare the work of a new author, new dramatist with the works of Shakespeare. We don't go on comparing the great works, or we don't go on labeling the works as inferior or superior. Just like we have seen in Matthew Arnold's touchstone method. And Matthew Arnold said that these writers like Shakespeare, Milton, Dante, Homer, these four writers can be taken as you can say a touchstone from where you can analyze the new writers. If you want to compare the new writers, then compare the writings of new writers, then you should compare it with these four writers like Shakespeare, Milton, Dante and Homer. That is what he has given in touchstone method. But in cultural studies we don't label one writer as a great writer and another writer as an inferior writer. We don't go on comparing the writers. We simply go on figuring out, analyzing the text in which culture it is formed. Another important thing to note here is that in text, the word text do not only include the important works, do not only include the works written by great writers. In cultural studies, the meaning of text is not only limited to the works. In cultural studies, we have TV programs, dance, music, movies, or you can say advertisements, so on and so forth. Everything is a part of text. Even the dress you are wearing right now is symbolic. It symbolizes something. The dress I am wearing right now is also symbolizing something, and it is a part of cultural study. You know, like some people go on wearing weird dresses. They are not wearing weird dresses. These dresses symbolizes something. These dresses are trying to tell that they are against the hierarchy of the society. And cultural studies analyzes everything. Cultural studies not only analyze advertisements, movies, music, dance, but also religion. Every element, every small individual element which is a part of culture comes under cultural studies. For instance, I am a Hindu, I do not eat non-vegetarian food on Tuesday. So this is also a part of culture. So directly and indirectly, my culture is taking action on my behalf. So it can be said that it is not me, but my culture who is deciding what type of action or what kind of thoughts I can think or what kind of actions I can take in the society. So culture is not only limited to religion, but it is also differs from one place to another. For instance, I am a Hindu who is living in Rajasthan, but now there are many Hindus who are living in Uttar Pradesh or Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so their habits, or you can say their culture, is quite different from my culture also. Just because, not because we are sharing the same religion, but also because we are living in a different places. So it is location, it is the people who are surrounding you also decides your culture. So what I'm trying to tell you is that culture is not only limited to religion. It can be your food habits, it can be your the food you are eating, the place you are living, the friends you are meeting. Everyone is influencing the culture, everyone is a part of culture. All those individual patterns is a part of culture. So now the important question is how we are going to analyze this culture, how we are going to begin the cultural studies. So according to Raymond Williams, he has given three major concepts: cultural materialism, structures of feeling, and you can say type of culture. Just like we have Matthew Arnold, who gave a lot of types of cultures. For instance, he gave popular culture, low culture, high culture, so on and so forth in his work Cultural and Anarchy. The same way, Raymond Williams has also given the type of cultures. For instance, the dominant culture, the residual culture, and the emergent culture. So we have the three theories of Raymond Williams. The first one is cultural materialism, structure of feelings, and the types of cultures. Of course, cultural studies is a big theory. Just like we have other theories, we have other writers. Cultural study is also a big one. But from UGC-NET perspective, if you just go through these three theories, that will do most of your work in cultural studies. At least you will be having some idea what is cultural studies in English literature. So in this video, we are only going to talk about structures of feeling. We are not going to talk about cultural materialism as well as the types of culture. These two topics we will discuss in our upcoming videos. So in this video only structures of feeling, because this will give us an idea about what is cultural studies, how cultural study begins. Now, Raymond Williams says in his theory of structures of feeling, what he says that this culture is not made up of one thing. It is not only about religion, but it is also about small individual people. For instance, everyone is different, everyone has different experiences, everyone has been through different locations from where they inherited their cultures of different people. Okay, so everyone is different, and it is not only about place, it is not about people, but it can have several things that is invisible to us, that we don't know how we forms a culture. Alright, so all these people, all these small individuals, all these small patterns come together to form an organization, and this organization forms a big culture. So according to Raymond Williams, culture is very complex. It is not like the patriarchal society is running the society. It is not that capitalist society is running everything. It is not, you cannot simply define culture in small little thoughts. You cannot define the whole culture by saying that it is the sexual drive of a man which decides the culture of a person, which defines the culture of an organization. So there are many social, political, economical, and a lot of other things which are invisible to us that contributes in the formation of culture. It is keep on evolving throughout the generation, throughout the years, throughout the centuries. So the analysis of cultural studies begin by analyzing each individual, each element, each organization, each culture in a very minute detail. You have to give importance, you have to focus on small details also, as well as big details. All these small details are complex, and you just go on doing your research work, you just go on doing some kind of analysis, and some hidden elements will appear before you. Just like Raymond Williams, with rigorous research work, with disciplined research work, he found something in the culture. He analyzed the cultural studies, he analyzed the culture, the people, and what he found was dominant culture, emergent culture, and residual culture. He found three types of culture. In the same way, by doing cultural studies, by doing analysis of culture, you are going to figure out a lot of things which are invisible to us right now. So Raymond Williams says that the culture is very complex, and you cannot just simply decide on one parameter. There are many things which are unknown to us, and to figure out what is there, what are the invisible elements, you have to analyze everything so minutely in so much detail. Alright, So this is what Raymond Williams found. This is what Raymond Williams talked about cultural studies, or you can say the thing which I have understood and which I am telling it to you. Alright, so every teacher has different way of explaining the cultural studies, because literary theory, this is the beauty of literary theory. No teacher can have same thoughts, no teacher can have same arguments. So this is what I wanted to share with you in cultural studies. So we will discuss the two remaining concepts, cultural materialisms and type of culture, sometimes later in our video. For this video, I have only presented you the theory, structures of feeling. So I hope you found the video worth your time. That's it for this video. Thank you.